Top Hits USA from RPM. Our name says it all. Get the latest hits while they're the hottest. With Top Hits USA, you'll have the track for sure. Visit tophitsusa.com or call 800-521-2537 and get a free demo.
DJ Event Planner will change the way you manage and run your business. Streamline all of your procedures and software into one easy-to-manage system. DJ Event Planner, the ultimate online planning tool.
All right, we are back for session number 3 with the one and only Mike Walter. Mike,
hey, John, how are you? Are you? Can you see? You can see?
I can see.
I was going to go with the blind look just so we met. I can't believe you're not wearing dark glasses.
I don't have them. I can see forward. I can see, and it looks.
I'm so happy.
I can't read to the level and do the things, but we're getting there. Right. We're getting there. We'll get there.
That's right. Reading it's overrated.
It's overrated.
Yeah.
Tonight, gang, we're going to be talking about some of Mike's experiences from his events and training and different things. We wanted to talk about some of the things, Mike, you've learned from the School of Hard Knocks, and I know that's something that we all have learned some things, and there's got to be a few lessons that just kind of stand out that we've learned the hard way.
Well, yeah. I mean, first and foremost, I've learned that mixing is so important because. Early in my career, and especially the company that I got started with, really didn't emphasize any beat for beat mixing or smooth segueing or anything. Their focus was really all on emceeing, and I think it's one of the reasons why I'm a really good MC, because that was all my training and my experience early on. But a number of times early in my career, I would clear the dance floor because of a bad mix, a train wreck, or whatever you want to call it. And I learned pretty early on that, man, you can really maintain a dance floor if you program and pick the right songs, but then if you mix them smoothly enough. And, the whole point of beat mixing is fooling the people on the dance floor so they don't realize there's been a transition from one song to the next until they realize they're dancing to the new song. That's the whole point. That's the ABCs of beat mixing. And it took me a while, and it took me, like you say, the School of Hard Knocks to learn that, to clear enough dance floors where I said, man, I got to get better at beat mixing. And I added that tool to my toolbox, and it's made me a much better DJ, MC, and all-around entertainer.
So early in the process, when you were first getting into it, and you were, as you say, doing more of the MC, were you guys, basically doing like everything was, fade in, fade out? Were you,
Yeah, pretty much fade in, fade out, but also a lot of MCing between songs, which can be good, but it can also be disruptive, because every time you speak, when the dance floor is going, every time you speak, it's an interruption. Now, sometimes it's a great interruption. You get people, you can take the energy level from here to here. You get the crowd waving their hands or screaming or clapping or singing along. So that can be good. But if every transition you do is, okay, we're going to keep the dance floor going with blah, blah, blah. Here comes a new song. Here's a request. All you're doing is reminding the people who are dancing that A, they're on the dance floor, which for some people is an uncomfortable place to be. And B, you're reminding them, here comes a new song, which gives them an opportunity to evaluate it and decide, well, maybe I don't want to dance to this song. Whereas if you can beat it in smooth enough, they're dancing to it, and then they go, oh, this is a new song. But they're still dancing,
When you guys, again, when I first started this, there were some DJs in the area who they were kind of really taking after radio DJs, and it would be, And that was Brown Eyed Girl. And up next, we've got Simon and Garfunkel. Was
Mhm.
that something that was part of that MC style?
Well, I wouldn't say it was like that. It wasn't a delivery like that. It was very high energy. And listen, I don't mean to knock at all the company I started with,
Yeah.
because
Oh, exactly. We all started.
seeing was it was innovative for its time. We were the guys on the dance floor instead of back behind the equipment with the cordless microphone, interacting, raising the energy. So that segues, so emceeing over the segues was not like you described, very FM DJ informational, but it was high energy. Come on, we're gonna keep the party going, blah blah blah, which can be a good technique. I mean, I just used this Saturday night when I was trying to make a mix, couldn't do it, so I voiced over it. But that's to me, that should be the exception rather than the rule. You shouldn't have to MC over every transition.
So as you've gotten progressed in our years of DJ, when you were talking about mixing now, how often are you trying to beat mix or trying to keep things fairly seamless like that?
A lot of it depends on the genres that I'm playing. I mean, I'm always trying to keep it seamless. That to me, the only time it's not seamless is when you don't want it to be seamless. When you are pausing for, let's say, going into dinner, where it's a give yourselves a big round of applause, we're going to clear the dance floor. That's when the transition. But even if you're going from a fast song into a slow song and you're emceeing over it, it should be a seamless transition. And again, when I say mixing, I know some people go, well, it's not all about beat mixing. It's not. Sometimes it's about slamming, which again should be done, with the proper on the proper count and with the proper phrasing. It could be a smooth segue of two songs where you're just mainly focusing on the volume level and making sure the transition. So I'm not talking about just beat mixing, but I'm talking about focusing on any of your transitions during the night. They should all be as smooth as possible.
One last part of this. When you were emceeing, I used to do much more talking on the microphone than I do now. Now it's much more deliberate, and it's because I have something to say, what have you.
Mm-hmm.
How often now are you at a party on the microphone? Is it something that you're on? Do you try to be on a couple of times an hour? Or
No, I probably am. I'm still on the microphone a lot. I think, especially compared to maybe a lot of people who are listening to this, but I am on the microphone a lot more in the first half of the party than I am in the second half of the party. And that's another lesson that I've learned, going back to lessons that I've learned in the School of Hard Knocks. I love doing audience participation songs, Electric Slide, Cupid Shuffle, The Wobble. I love all those songs. I think they break the ice, they get people on the dance for everything else. But one of the lessons I learned early in my career is you got to get that stuff done in the first half of the party. Because once people get liquored up enough and the party is here, then they don't necessarily want to go back down here. Not that audience participation loses the energy, but it certainly gets people organized and makes people do certain things on an dance floor. That's the whole point of it. That stuff is much better thrown in the first half of the party rather than the last hour. So that's another lesson I learned. I used to do an Electric Slide with a half hour left in the night, and people were drunken, falling all over themselves. They didn't want to listen to me by that point. But in the first hour of the party, that's where it serves as a great icebreaker, and they're not so far gone that they can't do a couple of steps,
So if we're in that first hour of the night, how many of those types of crowd activities would typically be played?
Well, a lot of it is based on the client's requests, obviously. I mean, I work with my clients very closely, and I allow them to program a lot of the music and give me plays and also don't plays. And I would say 50% of the time, my clients nowadays ask for no audience participation. So obviously in a situation like that, I'm not doing any line dancing.
Sure.
If they allow me to do one or two and I feel the need, and some parties I don't feel the need, because some parties from the very beginning are here, in which case I don't need a line dance. But if a party starts out like this and I know a line dance or two can fill the dance floor, then I'm going to do it early in the night. So there's no definitive answer to that question, John. It's not like I say 2 audience participation songs before dinner, 1 right after dinner. That's the formula. It varies with every party. It varies with every crowd. And it also, obviously, first and foremost, varies with every client that I work with.
So just this is going to be a tangent. What audience participation activities or songs or dances, what have you, have been popular for you guys with the latter half of summer?
Well, Watch Me Whip is still pretty big, and The Wobble. Those to me are the two newer, and I know The Wobble is, like 5 years old now, so I don't mean to make it sound like it's brand new, but those are the two newer. I did the Cupid Shuffle both. I did 2 weddings this weekend. I think I did it both again. I did the Cupid Shuffle at both parties. I did the wobble, I think, at both parties this weekend, and I think I did the cha-cha slide once. Haven't done the electric slide in a really long time. I think mainly just because that one's the kind of old and antiquated one, and that one's often on my do not play list, whereas some of the other ones are.
Cool. There was a tangent for those of you who are wondering, because every once in a while somebody's asking.
John, I love our tangents. Sometimes the best nuggets are found in when you go off the beaten path. Yeah,
that they are. That they are. Okay, so what do you have for us next? So we've talked about the MC side or the mixing, and a little bit with crowd interaction.
So I think a big part of it is what I already talked about is listening to the clients. I found very early on in my career that I can throw a great party as an MC, but if I don't personalize it for the bride and groom, then it's much less meaningful. I don't want to play the same 50, 60 songs at every single party and call it a success and go home. So a big lesson that I learned early on, and something that I think I do extremely well, and something that my wedding wire reviews support that fact, is I really collaborate with my brides and grooms. I listen to what they want, and I bring their requests to life, if you will. I think a big part of our job, if we're going to emphasize customer service, and as I talk about in some of my seminars, not every DJ cares about customer service and wants to listen to their clients and wants their clients' input. And you know what, John? I don't even make a face about that. If that's your style, as I talk about in my latest seminar, I show a picture of some of the most famous chefs in the world, Gordon Ramsay and some of the other chefs that we all know that have basically become rock stars. And I say, do you really think you could walk into their restaurants and tell them how to make their signature dishes? You really can't, right? Because they know that. And then I show a picture of some of the biggest club DJs that are out right now. And I say, do you really think you can tweet these guys the afternoon before you go see them spin in a club and give them a request for what you want in their set? It's not going to happen. So if you take the attitude as a DJ of, look, I know best, don't tell me what to play, I'm gonna program the night and I will throw you a great party. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But as I point out in my latest seminar, you should mention that in the sales process. You shouldn't sell your clients on the fact that you're going to listen to them and be great at customer service and then ignore all their requests, because that's hypocritical. I've always taken the stance of, yes, I'm an entertainer, and yes, I'm a little bit of an artist, but I'm mainly there for service. And that first and foremost means servicing my brides and grooms. So the planning process is usually face-to-face. I try to meet with my clients if I can face-to-face. And that planning process is very important to the overall success of the party, not necessarily to whether it's a good dance crowd or not, but whether it's unique to their tastes.
The meeting and planning and such, now, is that something you have done from beginning on, or is that something that over the years you've found that
it's something that over the years I've gotten much more elaborate with? When I started at Star DJs, again, that's the company that trained me and that I started with, we basically called our clients a couple weeks before the party. Very rarely, I don't think I ever remember meeting with them face to face with my clients. It was a phone call a couple weeks before the party. Let me get some information from you. I think the main thing at that point was getting bridal party names, so you had them in advance. Again, this predates online planning and DJ event planner or anything else. So you actually had to transcribe and write down their names. And then maybe I might ask them for requests, but I don't really remember that being a big emphasis. And then when I started Elite Entertainment, I had a partner, Eric Taylor, and he and I really put the emphasis at that point, as far as our company went, on customer service. And then it became meeting with clients as long as they are up, as long as the client's up for a face-to-face meeting prior to their wedding, we want to do that. And because even with the level of planning that DJ Event Planner gives you with the online planning forms and everything else, I still think nothing takes the place of a face-to-face meeting. And those meetings are not just for me getting information. Those meetings are also for me giving suggestions, because I tell my clients, look at the planner, fill out what you know, but leave anything blank that you're unsure of, because that's why you hired a professional. And a lot of times those planning meetings can be a half hour, sometimes over an hour, where I'm playing different selections for them and we're listening to different songs for introductions and cake cutting and parents' dances, because I really want those selections during the night to be perfect for the bride and groom.
When you're meeting and you're playing the music and different things, do you actually do, and again, here's another tangent, gang, do you actually do a demonstration of, okay, here's how I'm envisioning an introduction of this, and
Often.
do that
Yeah.
for them?
Yeah. Especially if they've already given me a song to be introduced to, I will basically play that in the office and demonstrate for them how I'm going to hit the post on that song. And a matter of fact, if a client gives me a song in advance that isn't set up perfectly, I'll make an edit for them in advance and have them listen to my edit. I also often make the joke, if I know what their wedding song is, when we get to that part of the meeting, I'll hit play on the wedding song and I'll say, "Do you want to get up and practice in my office?" And most couples will be like, "No, thank you." But I've had one or two couples through the years that have said, "Yeah, sure," and they've actually gotten up in my office and slow danced and practiced to their wedding song. And I think that's a wonderful. I think that shows a couple that's there to have fun, and I think it's a cool icebreaker. So
Hmm.
yeah, I take my meetings to that level without a doubt.
Cool. Very
Yeah.
cool. Okay, what do you have next for us?
Um, as far as lessons I've learned,
Yeah.
let's talk about backups. That's one of those. That's one of
Oh
those
boy.
lessons we all learn through the years,
Sometimes
and
the hard way.
yeah, well, I think most people, have to make that mistake once, and then you never make it again. I use this analogy in a blog, and I'll keep it PG rated here, John. But to me, having a backup is like bringing a condom to a first date. You are probably never going to need it, but if you ever do, you're going to be really grateful that you have it. Okay. So, I mean, I have backup equipment, whether it's set up at the gig or out in the car, either way. I've got backups of songs. I basically have 4 different layers at this point of backups, especially of all the important songs. They're on my computer, they're on my backup computer, they're on my iPad, they're on my iPhone. So I would literally need to have 3 different layers or 4 different layers of backup to go down for me to be helpless, and that would be, I think, would pretty much beat the odds. And it's not just backup; it's also troubleshooting. I think a big part of being able to fix something out in the field is understanding what might have gone wrong. In other words, like if you lose sound in a speaker, how quickly can you diagnose the problem? Is it the speaker? Is it the wire? Is it your mixing board? How quickly can you flip things around and realize, okay, the speaker's working, so maybe it's the wire. No, it's not the wire. Maybe it's the channel. Maybe it's not the channel. Maybe it's just that one particular song. So being able to do those things, now that comes from a lot of times it comes from something that happened in the moment and it taught you those things. But a lot of times those things also come from preparing for them and practicing, in your basement or in your garage or in your warehouse for, problems that might happen. Okay, the song cut out in the middle. What's going to happen? How quickly can we diagnose the problem and how quickly can we fix it? So a lot of it is the experience of having it happen once, and then how many backups do I need to fix this problem? But as far as diagnosing it, a lot of that comes with doing it during the week, so you can do it quickly out in the field.
For backup equipment, you mentioned, of course, your music playback devices having a variety of levels of that. When you get into things like your controller or speakers and things, do you carry extra of those, or do you at the same level, or do you carry? I've got my gold controller, and now I go to a silver or a bronze controller type of thing.
It's that. I mean, I don't have 2 levels of my top controller, but I've got, and a lot of times I have it nowadays because this is what I use for the ceremony. I have a secondary so that if I lost my main controller, that I could get through the gig with that, would you call it a bronze level? Yeah, I mean that's enough. And it's funny because I just used my bronze level controller recently. I was looking at an event I had, and it was literally one of the worst load-ins in the state of New Jersey. You have to go up this tiny, rickety little staircase. They have us set up basically on the balcony overlooking the party. And I know from experience that getting my big controller up there is near impossible. And we have a smaller controller. We actually have it set up in our office at all times so we can practice and test out songs and test out things like that. So it's like the size of a suitcase, and I brought that with me up the stairs, and the wedding was perfect, and it was no different. So sometimes I love my big controller and all the gadgetry that it does and all the bells and whistles. But when it really comes down to it, going back to my original point, if you can mix songs well and you can program a good night, you can get through with a bronze level controller if need be.
Yeah, because many times it's not so much about the gear as it is about the performance. I think is probably the best when you say the mixing and the
Yeah,
combination of
I've
MC.
often said you can give me, if you gave me a choice between a mediocre DJ with the best possible equipment or the best possible DJ with mediocre equipment, I'll take that best possible DJ every single time because just like any artist, you're gonna make it work with whatever gear you're given, and you can entertain a crowd if you're good enough and experienced enough. You can entertain a crowd. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't have great equipment, but if you have to play with substandard equipment and you're good enough, you'll figure out a way to entertain the crowd.
You mentioned a couple of times you use the term artist when talking about a DJ and a DJ entertainer. When did that concept come into your thought process with what we do? That artistic side is part of what we do rather than.
Well, I think at the core, artists create, right? I mean, that's the main thing. Artists create art, and since art is subjective, art can be anything, right? And I think entertainment is art, and I think packing a dance floor can be artful. So I certainly don't in any way put myself on the level of Prince or or a great painter. I'm drawing a blank on a great painter, but Van Gogh or Da Vinci or something like that. I don't put what we do on that level, but I do think we take existing songs and we take our emceeing and we mix those things together and we create a fun atmosphere. And in my humble opinion, that's art. And whether you do it and how you do it, I think defines you as an artist. You can be not so good at it, or you can be really, really good at it. And I've seen some DJs through the years who are artists, who are much more artists than me. They know how to mash up songs live and create unbelievable moments. But I think I'm pretty good at what I do, and I would call it art.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would definitely agree. And that's kind of an interesting. Was thinking about that the other day. When did we start thinking about what we do as more of an art form than strictly that playback? In essence, when we used to think, oh, is it a DJ or a jukebox? Are we being looked at as that?
Right.
Mike, we got a few more minutes left. Let's do one last one to send folks on their way. What's another?
Well,
thing?
I have one last one, but I'd like to hear from you. Give me one that you've learned through the years that the School of Hard Knocks, as you said.
It's probably the concept that's been shared, especially with multi-system, and in the article that Justin Miller has in this next month is about the hire slow and fire quickly. That concept is probably one of the things that I have over the years has been the biggest thing when it came to running a business is to bring quality people in and to do that at a slow pace and making sure that they're a good fit and they're going to be, it's good for them and it's good for the business. And when you see that when the handwriting's starting to kind of show on the wall a little bit that it's time to part ways, is that we part ways and do it quickly.
That's a great lesson, and I think you and I have already talked multi-op on this channel before, and it's a passion of mine. That's a topic we can definitely delve into. I'll give you one last one then, since you asked. We do have a minute or two.
Yeah, we have a couple minutes, and then
production is something that I have learned in the last couple of years can be extremely important. What we do as DJs, I think, is becoming more and more enhanced with the lighting that is now available to us. The video displays that are now available to us, bringing out HD TVs and maybe spinning some videos, to the intelligent lighting that is now available, things like that. And there are a fair amount of clients, not every one of them. Some clients have the budget for and have the desire for just your basic DJ and a good party. But there are a fair amount of clients who now really want a big, full-blown production. And having the ability to not only provide entertainment, but provide all these other things can not only enhance your bottom line, because it certainly, when I do a wedding with all the enhancements, it certainly is a more lucrative wedding than just a 2-person package and a sound system. But for me, it makes for a better party a lot of times. I mean, I love being on the dance floor and looking back and seeing that full production with the intelligent lighting on the uplit towers and maybe even the HD TVs spinning some videos. I get more pride out of that than I do sometimes just your basic system. So having the availability and the know-how and the expertise to do a full production when you have a client that is asking for it, I think is something that can really make you better and more successful in this business.
Yeah, definitely. That production side has really come on in the last 10 years, I think. It's really guys like Jason Janai, Jeremy Breck, many number of guys who just have brought that game to such a new level.
Yeah.
Great stuff. Mike, if people like get in touch, what's the best way for them to get in touch and ask questions, or you've talked about some seminars. Now you've got some DVDs out that have some of these on, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, first of all, social media nowadays is probably the easiest way. You can look for me on Facebook, Mike Walter, also Twitter, DJ Mike Walter. You can follow me on any of those platforms. And I do have a website, djmikewalter.com, where I have a couple of videos available. My latest is entitled A Wedding with Mike Walter, which is basically what it says. It is 4 hours of raw footage from a wedding that I did. So if anybody wants to see the way I perform and the way I MC and the way I mix and the way I program, it's probably the best way to do it. But not only is it the raw footage from a wedding, but it's a running commentary. So I pop in every once in a while and offer some commentary. I also scroll some text along the bottom of the screen. So you're not only seeing what I do, but there's some explanation about why I'm doing what I do. And I released that video earlier in the year, and I've gotten really, really good response. So just in time for Christmas, if you've got any DJs on your Christmas list, now's the time. It'd be a good purchase.
And one last thing before I let you go. You're going to be speaking at Mobile Beat coming up here in
March.
March.
I'm back at Mobile Beat. I'm so excited. Yeah.
Can you give us a little?
It's definitely performance based. It's 10 things that you can do to enhance your party. And so it basically follows a lot of the themes that I've been talking about the last couple of years, which is throwing better parties, generating more referrals, and just taking your events from here to here and making them more memorable and you shining as a DJ and an MC. So it's going to be, I've only got 45 minutes, so I'm cramming a lot of tips and a lot of techniques and a lot of suggestions and nuggets into that segment. But I think they told me on Thursday morning at like 10 a.m. So if you're making the trip, make sure you stay through the end, and I hope to see you.
That sounds great. Good stuff as always, Mike. I appreciate your time. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes with Randy Bartlett. He's going to be sharing some really Randy. He's a DJ from out in California.
New guy? Never heard of him.
Yeah, he's a new guy. I mean, I was just chatting with him today, and this young guy who's out there must be an exercise fanatic.
I'll have to tune in. It's he looks like an exercise fanatic. Actually, I'm kidding. For anyone who doesn't know, Randy is a very good friend of mine, and he actually officiated my own wedding 3.5 years ago, which, by the way, just got confirmed. Kelly just had to pick up our marriage certificate because she needs it for insurance. And she went to Jersey City today and picked it up. So actually, Randy did legally marry us 5 years ago. It wasn't just all for show. It was a great party, and he did a great job officiating it, but actually was illegal. I just found out today I'm actually been legally married for 3.5 years. So
that's
something to celebrate. Let me go so I can go celebrate.
Mike, thank you very much for being on. We'll be back in a couple of minutes with Randy.
Thanks. Bye.